This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. Have you heard all this talk from U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy that station wagons can make a comeback now that President Trump is easing up the corporate average fuel economy standards? Well, all we can say is, fat chance. Station wagons disappeared because they didn't sell well, not because fuel economy standards forced them out of the market. And it's not as if automakers didn't try to sell them. Remember the Dodge Magnum, the Buick X-Tour, the Cadillac CTS wagon. How about the Subaru Legacy wagon? BMW, Mercedes, Audi, and Volvo also tried selling wagons in the U.S. for years. But as we like to say in the business, they were sales-proof. It's like they were nailed to the showroom floor. It's true that the fuel economy standards were tilted in favor of trucks, but it's very easy to slightly modify a car to get it classified as a truck. Even the PT Cruiser was classified as a truck. Secretary Duffy says wagons from the 1970s with fake wood paneling on the sides could make a comeback. But we'd say the secretary is a little out of date. Car sales in China usually ramp up around this time as automakers like to wrap up the year on a high note. But last month, new car sales dropped 8%, coming in at 2.2 million units. That's a pretty big drop, and it's even more telling because there are government incentives that go away at the end of the month, so consumers were expected to rush into the market to take advantage of the last-minute deals. U.S. car sales dropped 6% in November, also a big drop. And when the two biggest car markets in the world both start heading south at the same time, that doesn't bode well for the industry. The European Union is facing more pushback on its plan to ban the sales of new ICE vehicles in 2035. The prime ministers from 6 countries, Italy, Poland, Slovakia, the Czech Republic, Bulgaria, and Hungary, are asking the EU to soften the rules. They want to allow plug-in hybrids, range-extended electrics, and fuel cell vehicles to be sold after 2035. While Germany didn't sign the letter, it's also pushing for the rules to be softened because of weaker than expected sales of electric vehicles. The EU is supposed to unveil proposals for the 2035 ICE ban next week, which is a week later than it originally planned. And over in France, the government is proposing that electric vehicles sold in the European Union must have at least 75% of its parts by value be sourced in the EU. Renault loves the idea, except that it says the 75% threshold is too high for automakers to achieve. It says the EU should impose a 60% local content rule, and not just for EVs. It wants all vehicle types included.
Developing today's vehicles, issues can happen in an instant. What good is knowing your problems without the data to solve them? Meet Wireless Neovi Cloud, your secure off-the-shelf solution, empowering real-time collaboration for quick resolution. With Wireless Neovi Cloud, your team can prevent issues before they can escalate. Driver communication data and remote diagnostics to analyze and resolve your problems using OTA, allowing your executives oversight throughout the process. Wireless Neovi Cloud, your vehicle update solution in production and on the road. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.
Much like Volkswagen, Nissan is taking a similar approach of designing and developing vehicles specifically for the Chinese market. The strategy is starting to provide some positive results for VW, and vehicles like its new N-Line could do the same for Nissan. The Japanese automaker recently introduced the N6 and N7 sedans, and soon it will launch a new SUV called the NX8. But unlike the other two models, the NX8 is the first in the series to use an 800-volt platform, which should make it more efficient and offer faster charging. It will come with pure electric and plug-in hybrid powertrains. While pack size and range weren't provided, Both feature an LFP battery that comes from CATL. The BEV version has two power outputs, the higher being 250 kilowatts, or about 335 horsepower. The PHEV combines a 1.5-liter turbocharged engine with a nearly 200 kilowatt or roughly 265 horsepower electric motor. The NX8 is expected to go on sale in China around April, and reports say Nissan could also export these new N models to other markets, likely places like Southeast Asia and the Middle East. Automakers are going gaga over AI, but they're not going to stick with it. That's the prediction of Gartner, the technology research company. It says that in 3 years, only 5% of automakers will be investing heavily in AI, down from 95% today. It says internal roadblocks and outdated mindsets are preventing legacy automakers from becoming what it calls digital-first organizations. One measure Gartner uses to figure out if an automaker will be successful with AI is if the executives in charge of software report directly to the CEO. That includes product and business software. Chinese tech company Horizon Robotics developed a new assisted driving chip for more affordable vehicles. It says vehicles starting in the $14,000 range will enter mass production soon with the new chip, but it didn't reveal which ones. Horizon's plan is to work with other suppliers to allow automakers to integrate the chip into their own software stacks and to develop turnkey solutions for vehicle programs. Some of Horizon's partners include Bosch, Denso, and Carizon, the joint venture between Volkswagen's Cariad business and Horizon. One of the topics on the most recent Autoline After Hours asked, what's up with all these automakers getting into off-roading? An example was that new Crater concept from Hyundai. Well, it looks like Kia is also getting a similar off-road machine, a tricked-out version of its all-electric EV5 crossover called the Weekender. The company says the concept allows the, quote, freedom to transition seamlessly from the city to nature. But it's not like this is Kia's first attempt at hardcore off-roading. It showed a similar version of the EV9 at CES called the Adventure and used the same name for an off-road van called the PV5 Weekender, which is still one of the coolest concepts that I've seen in a while. And that brings us to the end of today's show. Thanks for tuning in.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. CSP, the composites solution partner. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering, boost your game. And thanks to the following YouTube and Patreon members.
At CSP, we work with OEM engineers across the country on their journeys to lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly vehicles. Learn more at thecsp.com.
Knowing that a little rain won't slow down your day, that's what really matters. Bridgestone Turanza Quiet Track tires, confident control in wet conditions.